Okay, are we all ready? Okay, I can see, looks like we've got 68 participants there. I can see on my screen, so this is great. All right, well, you see my title there is called The Incredible Health Benefits of Growing and Eating Live Sprouts and Microgreens. And there's a collage of pictures of me and my children, Seth, who's now almost 16, and Abby, she's 12. And they were part of our recording of our course, and they like to eat sprouts too. So anyway, let me just go through a lot of different, I've put these slides together, and I just want to walk you through quite a lot of information. So I'll start with a Bible verse that I think most of us are familiar with in 3 John verse 2 in the New Testament, where John wrote, "I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers." And that's a great verse. And, you know, we all need to be healthy as much as possible. God wants us to be healthy. The Bible talks about health, and health is about as important as anything. I mean, if we lose our health, then the joy of living goes away, and we can't do what we're here to do, and everything just falls apart. So being in health is about as important as anything. This is a slide about the 8 laws of health. Many of you are familiar with this. There's a program in Northern California called New Start, and I used to live on the campus of Weimar Institute, where they host the New Start program. And these are just world-renowned principles that are very solid scientifically, and also biblically. And you can see on the right of the screen those 8 key laws of health. And New Start is really an acronym that most of us know, where the N represents nutrition, the E is exercise, the W is water, the S stands for sunlight, T is temperance or self-control, the air stands for fresh air, and the R, rest, and the last T is trust in God. And so these are just the basic health principles. And what I'm going to really focus on in this presentation is the first principle, which is the nutrition, the importance of nutrition. And I think most of us are aware of how important it is, what we eat, what we put in our bodies. I found this picture, and it just illustrates that a lot of what people eat these days is not good for us. And we know that. A lot of what's out there is packaged and full of chemicals. And I heard it said that if you were to walk into the average grocery store, and if you were to look at all the things they have on the shelves, and if they were to, let's say, close the door and lock everybody out for 50 years, and then come back 50 years later, there's a whole lot of what's on the shelves that would still be there and are still edible, because they have long shelf lives because of all of the chemicals that are in a lot of these, products to keep things lasting a long time. And there's a whole lot that we could say about processed food and chemical saturated food. And here's a slide that just shows various people that are struggling with different degrees of sickness, everything from the common cold to serious health issues. And there's probably not a one of us that doesn't have some kind of health challenge. And especially as you get older, then you have to deal with these challenges. And the critical link between nutrition and health and trying to avoid disease, I mean, it's well established. And so if we want to avoid disease, if we want to save money, if we want to live longer and be happier, it makes sense to build up our health. Now, here's a picture on the left of kind of the inside view of the human body, and a Bible verse on the bottom from the Psalms, Psalm 139, verse 14, where David said, "I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made." And when you just look at the body and the organs, the brain, the liver, the lungs, the kidneys, the stomach, the digestive tract, we truly are fearfully and wonderfully made. Our body is just miraculous, how it all fits together, how it all comes together, how it all works together. And it's just vital for the health of the body to follow the 8 laws of health and to follow the law of nutrition. We need to put as much nutrition into our bodies that will feed these trillions of cells that make up who we are and make up our organs. Now, there's a quote there in the middle from a book called Counsels on Health, page 450. And this quote has really spoken to me. The author of this book wrote, "Again and again, I have been shown that God is trying to lead us back step by step to his original design, that man should subsist upon the natural products of the earth." And I think that should be a goal of all of us, that step by step, we should try to eat more healthy, drink more healthy, and eat food that is real food. Like there's that little boy eating an apple. That's a real food. And it's God's plan for us to eat food that he has created. If you go back to the Garden of Eden, God gave man a bountiful diet full of natural products that were designed for the body. So we have a God-made body, and the ideal is to eat God-made food, which is natural food, the natural products of the earth. Now, here's another verse from Genesis 1, verse 29, where God said in the very beginning, in the Garden of Eden, he told Adam and Eve, "Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed. To you it shall be for food." So God's original plan was seeds that would grow into plants, and that would be the food supply of men and women. That was God's original ideal diet. Now, if you look at that word seed, I've done some study and research on seeds, and it's amazing. Seeds are incredible. And there is nothing more natural than a seed. As we just read, God is trying to lead us back step by step to eat the natural products of the earth. And there's nothing more natural than a seed. And seeds are really miracles. They are tiny little miracles. And science doesn't even completely understand all of the power and the intricacies and the chemistry and the process of seeds growing. Now, here's a really important point, that when a seed begins to sprout, now before it sprouts, it's in what we call a dormant stage. And then when it takes in water, when it gets into the right environment, then that seed begins to germinate and to grow. And what happens is that the nutrient content within that seed just literally explodes as the seed begins to grow. It's somewhat like what happens when a baby is conceived inside of a woman. At first, it's just one little cell, one little tiny cell. And I believe that cell is called a zygote. So when the sperm meets the egg, you have a zygote. When there's fertilization, conception, there's a new little person. And that little person is just one cell. And amazingly, and this is the miracle of God, really, God does this. Nobody completely understands it. What happens is that little cell, which has a DNA strand in it that basically is the blueprint for the entire person, and it's also loaded with all kinds of different things that are inside that one cell. What happens is that cell somehow miraculously doubles, and the DNA strand is basically copied. And what's in the first cell now, there's 2 of them, and they're identical. And then the 2 become 4, and the 4 become 8. And through the process of this miracle of cell division, then little by little by little, a human body is formed. And something in a similar way, obviously it's not exact, but in a similar way, something like that happens inside of a seed. When a seed begins to, when it takes in water and it begins to germinate and grow, the nutritional content within that seed begins to multiply. It doubles, it quadruples, it just exponentially just grows and grows and grows and grows and grows through the process of division and things that are happening inside of that cell. So if you have, let's say, vitamin A, and then the seed begins to grow, then you get more vitamin A. It becomes like a tiny factory, and the B complex and vitamin C and vitamin E and the different vitamins and nutrients within the cell of the seed begin to just double and triple. And so it just grows. And I'm going to show you some science behind this in just a minute. Here's a website that is very informative. You can go to this site. I encourage people to do it. It's the International Sprout Growers Association website. And this site is a wealth of resources. You can see what the welcome in the front there. It says, our mission is to promote global collaboration among professional sprout growers and supplies in order to promote the health benefits of sprouts. And then it also works with researchers and government agencies to make sure that sprouts are grown in a healthy way. So this is a very well-documented website. Now, if you go up to the top there, you'll see one of those menu links is about sprouts. And I've brought that menu down. You can see underneath that menu, sprout history, nutrition, varieties. And if you click on nutrition, you'll find quite a bit of information. This will come up, and you'll see various documents that are just loaded with information. There's a sprout nutritional facts in PDF format information. And if you look at that third link, which is sprout nutrition and disease prevention, if you click that link, you're going to be taken to a document that is just loaded with references to medical journals and to researches and to various places of universities. I was just on that site today, and you'll see references to the National Academy of Sciences and of the United States of America, the University of Saskatchewan, the Cancer Research Journal, the Journal of the Federation of the American Societies for Experimental Biology. And you'll see all of this research that's there, scientific research, and you'll see the health benefits of different kinds of sprouts and what they potentially can do inside of the body. This particular article on cardiovascular health, hypertension, atherosclerosis, anti-aging as a result of oxidative stress is connected to broccoli sprouts and how broccoli sprouts truly do benefit the body. And these links are just loaded with information. Now, if you go up to the other link there on sprout history, you'll find this one. It says researchers at the universities of Pennsylvania, and you know, Ken, I can't, because of the way my screen is here, I can't see that full quote. I've got 1, 2, 3, I've got me there, Brandon there, you there, somebody else there, somebody below there. So I wonder if you could just minimize all those chats just a little bit so I can just see myself if that's possible, because that full quote is just being covered, so it's hard for me to read that whole thing. Are you able to do that easily?
I think you might have power over that. I don't know.
Yes, I was going to say, you remember to go to that show active speaker only.
Yeah, okay, let me, hold on a second. I think I need to minimize my screen. There we go. Okay. All right, that solved that problem. There we go.
Yep.
Okay, so there's the quote. It says, the researchers at the universities of Pennsylvania and Minnesota, Yale and McGill have found that sprouts retain the B complex vitamins present in the original seed and show a big jump in vitamin A and an almost unbelievable amount of vitamin C over that present in unsprouted seeds. The figures are impressive. An average 300% increase in vitamin A and a 500 to 600% increase in vitamin C. In addition, in the sprouting process, starches are converted to simple sugars, thus making sprouts easily digested. Now, here's another article from an online publication called Vitality. And this is an article came out a few years ago written by Steve Meyerowitz, and he died some time ago. I believe he died in an accident, but he was world famous, as they called him, the Sprout Man. And he wrote a book called, or at least this article, he's written many books, and this article is called Sprouts, the Miracle Food. And he talks about what happens when a seed begins to germinate and grow. And this is what he said in his book, and this is quoted in this article. Biologists tell us that in the first 5 to 10 days, young plants achieve their maximum nutrient density. In other words, they are more nutritious than at any other point in their growth. These babies are literally overflowing with rapidly multiplying enzymes, vitamins, proteins, and minerals needed for the development of the mature vegetable. B vitamins alone increase 300 to 1,500% in just 3 to 6 days. So the point is that once a seed begins to sprout and germinate, its nutrient content is just exploding, so that the seed and now the little sprout can continue to grow toward the ultimate goal of becoming a full plant. And researchers have shown that the peak nutritional density in the process of the growth from a seed to a full plant is in a stage called the microgreens. The first stage, when it's sprouting in the first few days, is called the sprouting stage. But then when the leaves pop out, and then it grows a little bit bigger, and those leaves green up, that's called the microgreen stage. And researchers have shown that it is at the microgreen stage when the nutritional density of the plant is at its peak. In other words, if you were to take, let's say, a pound of broccoli microgreens, where you grow the broccoli a little bit bigger than a sprout and you grow it just a little bit bigger to the microgreen stage. Now it's loaded with nutrition in the sprouting stage, but in the microgreen stage, it's even more. And if you were to take a pound of broccoli sprouts and compare that with a pound of broccoli that you would pick out of your garden, you're going to get a lot more nutrition, pound per pound, from the broccoli that's in the microgreen stage. That's what researchers have found, that the sprouting stage is loaded with nutrition, and the microgreen stage there's even more nutrition as far as its density goes. Now, there's a nice picture of all different kinds of sprouts and the microgreens, and you can see behind me, I'm actually in our studio right now. We have a green screen here, and so I was able to put this picture behind me of those little guys growing, and those are actually, technically, those are called microgreens. And you can see a few microgreens there on the screen, plus quite a few different kinds of sprouts. And on the left there is a chart of the health benefits of sprouts, just some of the health benefits. And this is taken from organicfacts.net. So it says here that sprouts aid in digestion, they boost the immune system, which is just critical for the body to fight disease, especially dealing with, our country and our world is dealing with COVID-19 and the coronavirus. And we all know that those who do get COVID-19, who come down with this because of the coronavirus, if they're healthy, they have a much better chance of just getting over this. Whereas people that are compromised in their immune function, that have chronic issues, they are more susceptible to having serious problems with this virus. So boosting the immune system is just critical for us all. And there's hardly anything that will help boost the immune system than on a regular basis eating live, growing, fresh, wholesome, organic, unsprayed sprouts and microgreens. You really just can't beat this. I mean, you could do all the research on the benefits of eating fresh fruits and vegetables, but when you get into sprouts, it just increases the benefit of the nutrients you can put in your body. It says that it also aids in weight management, protects your body against cancer. There's one particular nutrient in broccoli sprouts especially, which is called sulforaphane. And Scientific studies have shown that sulforaphane is very powerful as a fighter against cancer. And then it also talks about improved blood circulation in the body, helps to reduce risk of heart ailments, helps in growth and development of the body, reduces risk of neural tube defects in infants, helps prevent cataracts and macular degeneration in your eyes, inhibits growth of cold sores, and it also helps your body deal with allergies and with asthma. So that's a pretty good list, wouldn't you say? Pretty nice list. Now here's another picture of the health benefits of bean sprouts, and those are mung beans right there, which are really super easy to grow. A good source of protein, rich in fiber, calorie control because they don't have a lot of calories, increase fertility, protect against cancer, good for your skin, for beauty, improve the digestive process, good for eye vision, prevent anemia, reduce blood pressure, lowers cholesterol, used in salads, improves immune system, and enhances gastric acidity in your stomach. So there's another pretty significant list of the benefit of eating sprouts. Now, this is something I mentioned in the e-newsletter that I sent out. I put this, that I was going to be doing this on our Facebook page, and I sent this out to a few of my friends, that I was going to teach you how to grow lentil sprouts. Now, if you Google lentil sprouts, well, first of all, lentils are very healthy for the body, and they become even more healthy when you sprout them. And you can Google this and find all the research of all the different vitamins and minerals and the health benefits of eating lentils. Lentils are probably one of the easiest sprouts or seeds to sprout. Most people can get lentils at the market or at any health food store or most health food stores. They're very simple. Now, let me just walk you through this. I think you're going to really like this. And everybody that's watching this could be doing this. If you have any lentils in your house, or if you have access to getting them close by, you can be doing this in just the next couple of days. In fact, you can start tonight. So there is a jar. It's just, it's a regular mason canning jar, small jar. I think it's a quart jar. And what I did, today's Wednesday, so this was 2 days ago in the morning. What I did was I took a bag of lentils that my wife bought from a local market, and I put them in a jar. And that's what you can do. And then what you do is you double the amount of water or triple the water. It depends on how many lentils you put in there. In this particular experiment, I put about half of the jar full of lentils. Now, you might want to start with a little bit less. It just depends on how much room you've got. But anyway, I did half the jar, and then I filled it up with water. So you can see that's what I did. Very simple. Anybody can do this, and you don't even need this kind of a jar. Just use any container. Put your lentils in and put water in there. And I did this Monday morning, and then look at this. 5 hours later, I did it at about 7 o'clock, and right around 12:15, I came back and I looked at my jar. And you can see, wow, those lentils expanded, and they grew up near the top of the water line. And that shows that those seeds are alive. Now, not all seeds you get at a market are as good as other seeds you might get at, like, let's say, a sprouting company. But most lentils you buy in the market, they work just fine. And so these they expanded, they started sucking in water, they came alive. And what happens with a seed is certain seeds have what's called anti-nutrients. And these nutrients within the seed prevent it from sprouting until conditions are right. And then when they're right, then it starts growing. And putting seeds in water, soaking them in water, creates that condition. So the seeds began to grow, and they're expanding, and you can see 5 hours later, it's quite a bit taller. And then what I did was I took that jar and I put a lid on it, a little sprouting lid. And I've got these lids. They're easy to buy on Amazon. Lots of different places you can get them. And if you don't have a lid like this, really, you can just use your fingers if you want. Just tip out the water. You can use a strainer or some kind of a, anything that you've got, cheesecloth, anything you've got around the house, or like I said, if you don't have a lid, just use your hands and just drain out that water. And then what I did was I put that jar in a little container there so that the water will continue to go out as the jar sits there. And if you don't have a little container like that, you can just stick the jar in the sink, just tilt it, or just tilt it long enough to get most of the water out. The idea is that as the seeds are growing in the jar, you don't want them sitting in water. So you just try to get the water out as best as you can. So that's what I did. And then what I did was I rinsed them again in the evening. Typically you soak them once and you rinse them twice. And then I rinsed them in the evening. And then in the morning, Tuesday morning, this is 24 hours later, you can see those seeds have grown up to the top of the jar now. They're continuing to expand and they're starting to sprout. And that's only one day. And you can do this. It's very simple. Now then by Wednesday morning, what I did was I rinsed them, I tilted them and I rinsed them Tuesday evening. And then on Wednesday, I checked them and they were so big. And actually, let me try to remember this. I think what I did was on Tuesday, I transferred them to a bigger jar because I had too many. So yeah, that's what I did. Tuesday, I transferred them to this bigger jar you can see. And I tipped it again, rinsed it twice a day. And by Wednesday morning, which was this morning, and this is only 2 days later, by Wednesday morning, you can see that the sprouts were growing all the way up to the top of this jar. And I've got this jar right here. This is it. And you can see it's a 2-quart jar. It's pretty big. And it is just loaded with sprouts. And really all you need to do is do this for 2 days. You can do it for 3 days if you want. And I don't know if you can see that right there. I'll put that right up there. See that? And I tell you, these are ready to go in my salad. Lentils have kind of a mild flavor. And if you add it to your salad, it just gives a living, healthy boost to anything you put in that salad. So anyway, that's my simple demonstration on how you can grow this. And you can do this in 2 or 3 days. If you get into a habit of doing this on a regular basis, you could be eating sprouts every day. And there's lots of different ways to eat them. Now, here's another document that I put together called My 10 Top Reasons to Sprout. Number 1, much or most of the food people eat is either dead or heavily processed. When you grow and eat freshly cut sprouts, you are eating nutritionally loaded live food that is far superior to practically anything you can eat. Number 2, when a tiny seed germinates and sprouts, its protein, vitamin A, B complex, C, and E, mineral and trace mineral content increase dramatically, sometimes hundreds of times from what was in the original seed. Sprouts are powerhouses of nutrition. And just Google this and do your homework and you'll find that this is true. Number 3, when you grow and eat your own sprouts and microgreens, you are eating organic food that has not been sprayed with cancer-causing pesticides. Organic food is expensive, but growing your own is much cheaper. Number 4, when you buy fruits and vegetables in a supermarket, they have usually been harvested weeks before you buy them. And during each day of storage, transportation, and sitting in the produce section of the grocery store, they lose nutritional value day by day. But when you eat freshly harvested homegrown sprouts immediately, which is what I usually do, then you get the benefit of eating those, of getting that nutrition right away. And there's no transport time, there's no processing time. You get it all right there. You get the fullest nutritional content possible from eating this food. Number 5, purchased at a supermarket, the average price for a small plastic container of alfalfa sprouts is about $4. I confirmed that at a local Safeway not far from our house, and you buy a little container, about $4. But if you buy a small packet of alfalfa seeds and grow these seeds yourself, you can get up to 10 times the sprouts for the same price. Sounds like a good deal. Number 6, even if you don't have land, a garden, or an orchard, you can still grow a fabulous indoor garden and eat fresh, non-GMO organic vegetables every day. So some people say, well, I don't have a garden. What do I do? Grow sprouts. I don't have an orchard. What do? You can grow sprouts. You can do this. It's very, very simple once you know what to do. Number 7, even if you don't have a green thumb, you can still learn to grow beautiful, mouth-watering, fresh sprouts and microgreens like a pro. Number 8, even if you have limited space in your house or apartment, all you need is a sink, some seeds, a jar or two, some small containers, and small places on your windowsill or in your cupboard or under your sink to grow lots of fresh sprouts. Number 9, sprouts and microgreens are high in fiber, which helps undigested food pass quickly from the body, lessens the transit time. So it doesn't have time to rot within, which contributes to colon cancer, because sprouts are loaded with fiber. So they keep, as they say, they keep the plumbing humming. They keep things moving. Sprouts and microgreens contain powerful properties that will enhance your immune system, which helps your body fight deadly diseases like cancer. Bonus reason, growing sprouts and microgreens is fun. You'll love it. I really do like growing these things. It's a lot of fun. 8 reasons why people don't grow sprouts. Number 1, people say, I'm too busy. I don't have time to do this. And there's my response. You are not too busy. You can do this. Once you learn what to do, it only takes a few seconds or minutes each day to grow lots of super healthy sprouts. Number 2, I don't have room in my house or apartment to do it. My response is, yes, you do. You do have room. All you need, like I said, is a sink, a small jar, a small packet of seeds, a small little place on your windowsill, counter, inside your cabinet. And almost everybody has got enough room where they live to grow plenty of mega nutritious sprouts. Number 3, some people say, well, it's too expensive. I can't afford to do it. I can't afford sprouting. My response is, yes, you can afford it. Most of us have enough money to buy gas and groceries. Unless you're very, very poor, you have enough money to grow sprouts. Of course, you can spend a lot or a little, but it only takes a little to get started, and the health benefits will save you money in the long run. Less medicine, fewer trips to the doctor, less time away from work, etc. Number 5, some people say, well, I'm healthy enough, I don't need to sprout. My response is, good health is one of our greatest treasures. If we lose it, we've lost a lot. Eating sprouts regularly is one of the best ways to prevent future sickness. Who knows what tomorrow will bring, especially as we get older. Protecting our health is one of the wisest choices that we can make. Number 5, sprouts probably don't taste good. I'll pass. Some people think that. My response is, many sprouts and microgreens taste delicious, terrific. They add zest to a salad, sandwich, or wrap. Add your favorite seasoning, and the taste of sprouts is often unnoticed. It's a little bit like tofu. When you take tofu, it's pretty mild, but whatever seasoning you add, it takes on that seasoning. But with sprouts and microgreens, they have a variety of flavors, especially arugula. Arugula is a very intense microgreen, and I love it. Radish. I don't really like radishes in the market, but for some reason, I really like radish sprouts because they are just very tasty and spicy, and they're good. And the health benefits are still off the charts. Number 6, some people say, I don't have a green thumb, I can't do it. My response is, yes, you can. A child can learn how to grow simple sprouts. You can do it. Just like those lentils, anybody can grow lentil sprouts in 2 days, 3 days, and you'll have sprouts in your salad. Number 7, I'm not convinced that sprouts are so fabulous for my health. I'll stick with my cheeseburger. My response is, if you want to learn the scientific facts proving how incredibly healthy sprouts and microgreens really are, and I've already showed you this, visit the website of the International Sprout Growers Association, click nutrition, and read what the studies show. Number 8, I don't know what to do or where to start. Well, now you do know what to do with the lentils. I just explained that to you. And if you want to learn more, a simple step is to visit the website that my associate Ron Fleck and I have created, where we have a whole online course teaching people how to grow all kinds of different seeds. So you visit that website, watch a few free short videos on the site, and then if you want to join the course, which is entirely up to you, the price is very reasonable, about the cost of one trip to a grocery store. It's just a one-time cost, no hidden gimmicks. Plus, we have a 14-day money-back guarantee, and we also have support. which I'll show you in just a little bit. So there's our main website, sproutingwithsteve.com. And when you go right on the site, you'll see a video right there that you can click, and it explains all about the health benefits of sprout, lots of pictures, animations, and what sprouts can do for the body. And then it also explains about the course. There's me growing some broccoli sprouts in a little green tray called the Sprout Garden. That was very easy to do, and I teach how to do that. And if people want to join the course, there is a cost. We've spent a lot of time putting this together. Pastor Fleck has done all the recording and the editing, and we've put hours and hours and hours and hours into this. So we believe it's reasonable to ask for a reasonable price for this. And our basic price is, there you can see it's $97, but we also have an offer which we give to really anybody that wants it. And that is when people check out on that website, there's a little place for what's called a discount code. And if you just type in friend of Steve, one word, just friend of Steve, and click apply, then it brings the cost, it cuts the cost in half to $49.95, which we think is a very reasonable cost. One time, not any more than that. And then you get access to a member site, and the member site has all these different videos where you learn how to grow not just lentils, but you grow alfalfa, broccoli, clover, radish, purple radish, buckwheat, mung. There's just a whole host of them that we have. Sunflower greens, rye, barley. Some of them are great in cereals in the morning. Some are great in salads. And then we give you options on how to eat them. So we just got a wealth of information, and it's very, very simple. Plus, we also have, as we mentioned, a Facebook page, a private Facebook group where you can be part of that group, and you can post pictures of your sprouts and ask questions and talk to other people. And it's just, it's a lot of fun. And the sprouting course is just loaded with information. There's a picture from the course. In the course, not only do I teach, basically the course is divided into 3 parts. You have the sprouting section where I teach you how to take all these different kinds of seeds and grow them to make them just small little sprouts. And then the second section is on microgreens, where you grow them a little bit bigger. And you grow them, you can either grow them in soil or hydroponically. And the second section is all about how to grow microgreens in soil or potting soil, which you can just buy at Walmart or Home Depot. And then the third section is on how to grow microgreens just with water, without any dirt. And if you see that picture where I've got my thumbs up there, what I'm holding in my right hand, those are buckwheat lettuce. It's a microgreen. And I walk you through this. I show you how to soak the seeds, how to put them in the tray, how to put them on top of the soil, how to water them. And I show you their progress from day 1 to day 2 to day 3. And that's what we got in the course. And I tell you, if you've never eaten a tray of buckwheat microgreens, you don't know what you're missing. They are delicious. And below that, you'll see the purple. That's purple Rambo radish. Doesn't that look nice? And then over on the right there, or at least I guess it's my left, you'll see that picture in the corner of sunflower microgreens. And those are delicious. My son, Seth, he really likes sunflower microgreens. They taste just like sunflower seeds, and they're very good. And then you'll also see a tray of wheatgrass, and I show you exactly how to soak the wheat seeds, what kind of wheat seeds to get, how to grow them. And I also tell you in the course exactly where to get all your seeds and all your supplies. One company called True Leaf Market, which we have a working relationship with, and they're wonderful people, and they will give you all the seeds and all the supplies, everything you need, just from that one company. And there on the right, you'll see one of my sprout salads, and that is just a complete living salad. Can you imagine? And it looks like there I've got peas growing, and I believe there's some purple Rambo radish. There's probably some alfalfa. Looks like there's some sunflower greens. And there's just, it's just amazing to have a living salad with avocado and lemon and some nutritional yeast and some of your favorite seasoning. And I'm into this. There's nothing like it. And I think that, at least as far as food goes, and I think that if you eat a sprout salad, it's just, you'll really enjoy it. And that's what the course does. It teaches exactly what to do. Here's a couple of testimonials of people that have become my students. There is Jaime Galvez. He is actually White Horse Media's producer. So he works with us. He does all of our editing and the production of our regular programs. And he joined the course. And there are his children. And he started out growing a big microgreen container of peas. And this is what he wrote down there. He said, "I'm so glad I bought this course. I grew these pea microgreens while there was still a foot of snow outside. My kids pick on this living snack every time they walk by it. I'm so excited to start growing other seeds. I've never done anything like this before." And then he said, "But the way I teach the course, it's very simple and it's very easy." And so Jaime is excited because he's now learning how to do this. And here's another friend of ours, Christopher, and her little boy, Liam. And Christy joined the course. She's one of Dr. Neil Nedley's nurses. And she wrote here, "Hi, Steve. Liam and I really enjoyed taking your online sprouting course. The directions are easy to follow, and the results have been great. Thank you for the time and effort you took to put these informative, practical videos together to guide us step by step through each process. There have been a lot of good spiritual object lessons that could be taught to Liam, who is now 7 years old, going on 8, that can be applied as well." So she's glad that she's sprouting now. And there's Pastor Ron. I don't know, Ron, if you're watching this right now or not. It shows we have 75 participants. But anyway, there's Ron in my backyard on the left. He is my associate. He works with me. And when we first started to do this course, he came over to our kitchen and he filmed everything from A to Z. And he'd never sprouted before, but he just, he got into this. He saw all the demonstrations, and then he started doing it in his own house. And there you can see him in the middle there with a nice tray of sunflower greens that he grew. And his family, they really like eating those greens, just like my son Seth does. And my daughter Abby, she's eaten a lot of them too. So, and then here's a little blurb from him. "I filmed Steve, now I'm sprouting too. This is great." So that's what, it's another testimonial. So I think this is my last slide here of what I showed you at the beginning. Our motto in our course is "You can do it." It's a fun thing that Ron and I really enjoy. And we believe that this will really help a lot of people. And the little bit of income that we get from this, it definitely helps both of our families. We have kids, and it's just a big blessing to us. And we believe that it's a big blessing to other people as well. So, obviously you can do your own homework on learning how to sprout. You can Google sprouting, and you can do all the research on YouTube if you want. Or you can join the course if you want, and then you'll have it all right there in one simple course. And our goal is to help people to get into a regular habit of growing sprouts on a regular basis. And once you learn what to do and start doing it, it's just, I tell you, it's 2 thumbs ups. It is fabulous. So I'm going to get out of this presentation. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to go back to my green screen picture of me. And Ken, if you want to put the chat up there, and if people want to ask questions, that was about 50 minutes or so of a presentation. I hope that was informative and valuable. And I'm happy to take some questions if you'd like. And then we'll just call this a wrap. So I don't know, Ken, if you
want. Let me first thank you again. Okay, that was practical, made so simple, and a lot of people, because of just not having had experience with it, are a little intimidated by the whole thing. And I think you've taken that intimidation and that fear away this evening by just showing how absolutely simple this can be. In addition to the questions that you'll see on your chat, Steve, if you click on chat at the bottom of your screen, someone texted me and asked me, like with the lentils, are you eating those raw, or do you typically cook those at all after they've sprouted?
Sure, good question. These are raw, and I eat them raw. And what I mean, you can obviously wash your sprouts if you want to. I don't cook, I never cook my sprouts, but I do wash these every day. I rinse them, I just put the water in and then drain it out. Put the water in and drain it out. The idea is, first of all, you start the seeds by giving them a bath. And then 2 times a day, you give them a shower. That's the simple way of saying it. So you saw, I started the seeds down here, grew them up in actually another jar, and then they expanded, and then they kept getting bigger. So I put them in a bigger jar, and they're still growing. And every day for since Monday morning, I've been washing these under my sink, and I've been draining out the water. So it's really like these sprouts are being washed all the time. So I don't really personally feel the need to wash them again. I just take them and there they go into my mouth, into my salad.
And since they're still growing, Steve, I'm assuming they do not require any refrigeration then.
No, not at this point. And one thing you could do is, and I teach you all kinds of options in the course. You can grow these in jars. You can grow them in little trays, bigger trays. I show all kinds of options. Then people can do what they want to do. One thing you could do with something like this is I could eat probably this much, maybe in a salad, and then I could let them continue to grow for a couple days, and then they'll grow right back up to the top. I don't really like to grow lentil sprouts too big. I like them in the small stage, but you can take these and you can put them in a tray with soil or a little bit of potting soil, and you can grow them up bigger into the microgreen stage. You can do that with these. So there's lots of options. One of my favorite sprouts is sunflower seeds. You can grow them as a microgreen, starting them with seeds that have the hulls around them, black oil sunflower seeds. And you can actually, there's a feed store about 10 minutes from my house. And I bought a 20-pound bag of black oil sunflower seeds. No, I think it was a 40-pound bag for about $20. And that's going to go a long way. And those are really bird seeds. The feed store sells them for the birds to put them in bird feeders, but they sprout great. So I've got this massive bag, and I could grow tons of sunflower microgreens, and I could feed quite a few people if we have the coronavirus becomes a bigger problem. I've got lots of food with those seeds. But there's a simple way to do it, and you can buy raw sunflower seeds from a health food store, and those you can do just like these. If you take raw sunflower seeds, put them in a jar, and then double the water. I typically soak those overnight, and then in the morning you rinse out the water, and then you just rinse them twice a day. Within 2 to 3 days, you'll have a nice batch of sunflower sprouts. And I like to put those right on top of my waffles. I sprinkle them right on top of a waffle. Sometimes I mix them in with my oatmeal. I put them in granola. And so I'm adding live food to my breakfasts. And there's a whole host of different seeds you can do this. You can do this with barley. You can do this with rye. Rye is super simple. Do the same thing. Soak it. Drain it for a couple of days, 2 or 3 days, and you'll have rye sprouts. And those go right into my oatmeal, right into my granola, right on top of my waffles. And I don't cook any of these. I just eat them raw. And so, especially in the winter, I might start a batch of broccoli. I might start a batch of sunflower greens. I might start a batch of alfalfa. I might start a batch of sunflower seeds, the raw ones without the shells. And I'll start every few days, I'll start a few more batches. And so every day, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or supper, I can be adding sprouts to my food. And if you do this on a regular basis, I tell you, you are pumping your body with real nutrition, which is just, how valuable is that? So next question. Anybody have another question? Yes. Okay. It says first.
And you may have addressed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can.
You may have addressed this question from Shirley.
I'm sure. Okay. Let's see. Okay. How high up are you? From Shirley. Okay. Is there any sprout that we should not eat? Not that I'm aware of, as far as the typical seeds. If you go to a sprouting, and if you go to
go a little higher up than that.
Oh, higher than that? Okay, from Shirley, is the water good to drink? Soybean?
Yes.
Is the water?
Yes.
Oh, you mean the water that you soak your seeds in? Is that what she's talking about? No, I wouldn't drink that water.
Yes, that you pour it off and you.
Oh, and you know what? Because this has a green lid, look at that. With the green screen, it's disappearing. Because I'm in front of a green screen, so my lid is disappearing. But anyway, once you soak these seeds overnight, then you can put that water in your garden if you want, or put it on your house plants. If you have any house plants, just pour it on there. But I wouldn't drink that water. And the reason is because, as I mentioned, seeds have what's called anti-nutrients in them that keep the seed from sprouting until the conditions are right. So that if you have a bunch of seeds in your cabinet, they're not just going to start sprouting. And those anti-nutrients then get released when the seed begins to germinate and grow. And you don't want to drink that. So the water's good for your plants. I think they're fine with it, but I wouldn't drink that. Okay, let's see. Okay, somebody asked, and I won't mention the name, how do you prevent salmonella from sprouts? From what I've done a little homework on this. There was a scare some time ago, especially about alfalfa sprouts, whether they can give you, E. coli or something. And from what I've read, the problem that anybody's had with getting a disease from sprouts is from sprouts that are not grown in people's homes. And you don't know where these sprouts have been grown. You don't know what kind of water they used or what kind of runoff. You don't know how much control they've had. But from what I've read, there hasn't been any cases of anybody that's a home grower of sprouts that's had a problem. And like I said, if you just, rinse them on a regular basis as you're growing them, I've never had a problem. I've been growing sprouts for over 40 years off and on, and they've never made me sick. So I'm not aware of any problems like that from people that grow them in their houses. Okay, next question. Can you eat the microgreen stage of any seeds? I think so. If it's anything that you would plant in your garden, you can eat it at the microgreen stage. Now, some microgreens taste better than others. I'll be honest with you about that. There's one particular seed which I experimented with in my course, which was called amaranth. True Leaf Market sent me a free batch of those seeds to demonstrate them, and they look beautiful. They're just beautiful red microgreens, but they're a little finicky. They're hard to grow, and they really don't taste good. So I'm not going to grow amaranth. And I told everybody that in my course. But there's a lot of seeds. And the ones that I typically eat, like I said, sunflower, buckwheat groats are great. Sunflower microgreens are great. Alfalfa, clover, broccoli, radish, mung, peas. There's a lot of them that taste good. And I've recently really gotten into radish, which is a very fast-growing, easy microgreen to grow, and arugula. In my garden, my arugula sometimes, especially when it gets hot, they can get bitter. But when I grow the microgreens during the winter, they've just got a real tangy taste to them, and they are delicious. So it depends on the seed, just like with any kind of vegetable. You have to see if you like it and if you don't. Okay, let's see. got some other questions here. Okay, question. In your course, do you have any downloads we can keep for future reference after the course is finished? We have a lot of links in the course where you can go to resources that are always there. The course, we believe it will be there at least until the final times when we're offline, but we're not planning on taking it down. And the videos basically just teach you what to do. As they say, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, but if you teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. The purpose of the videos is to teach you what to do. So once you know what to do and you know where to get your seeds, then you take the ball and you run with it. And so everything will be there as long as we can keep them there. Okay, another one question said, I need to add a benefit. Someone in my life has no teeth and getting fresh veggies is a problem. But we started alfalfa and broccoli sprouts a week ago and he can eat them. Well, that's good. Yeah, their sprouts are very easy to digest. Even if you don't have teeth, you can probably do it. I think so. Okay, next question. What is the time difference between a sprout and a microgreen? Sprouts, it's typically a few days. Like these lentil sprouts, it's been Monday to Wednesday. So that's really 2 days. And these are ready to go. With microgreens, it takes a little bit longer because you have to germinate them. And once they start germinating, then you put them typically in a little green tray, a white tray, which you can stack on top of each other. So you can have different kinds of microgreens growing. Or if you put them in a bigger tray with potting soil or with some kind of a medium on the bottom and you just use water, and I teach you all about this, typically sunflower greens, to grow a nice big crop of sunflower greens, would probably take a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. Buckwheat, it's about the same. Radish, you could probably grow in a week. Arugula, I'd say 8 days. So it doesn't take long. And with the microgreens, it does take a little more work. With sprouting, all you need is a jar or these little trays, and it just takes seconds a day. Okay, another question says, thank you, Steve. You have inspired us to start sprouting. Good. What was the name of the company you buy seeds from again? We work with a company called True Leaf Market. True Leaf Market, that's the company. I know one of the owners. I'm in touch with him regularly. He sent me a whole bunch of seeds to demonstrate during the course, plus products. And so I highly recommend True Leaf Market. Somebody here said that they are a good company. Just bought seeds from them for the first time. Next question, can this be done all year long? Yes, you can grow sprouts all year long. With the microgreens, when they grow a little bit bigger in your trays, typically I don't grow them in the summer because it gets really hot, and microgreens can be a little more finicky. Some of them like the hot, like the amaranth, but some of them prefer cooler. But if you just turn the temperature down between 65 and 70 degrees in your house, you should do fine growing microgreens any time of year. And you don't need a greenhouse. You don't need to stick them outside. All you do is put them on your windowsill or on a table where they get ambient light from the window, and they grow just fine. So it's very easy. Okay, next question here is, do you cut your micro brews and relay them to regrow, or do you replant? Good question. With the sunflower greens, I only cut them once and they're done. Wheatgrass, the same thing. We did experiment in my course with peas. Peas grow really well, very easy, and we cut them off, ate them, and then they regrew into a beautiful crop. So with peas, you can do it, but most microgreens, I just cut them and eat them and then start another batch of something else. Okay, another question here from Kathy. Wouldn't the potting soil have unhealthy ingredients that you wouldn't want on fresh food, like manure, etc.? It obviously depends upon the potting soil. I recommend just going to Ace Hardware, Walmart, Lowe's, or a nursery and getting a bag of organic potting soil. That's what we always recommend, and that's what I use. You can get a bag for, depends, sometimes they have sales. I think I was able to buy 3 big bags for about $10 at Ace Hardware recently. So organic potting soil, that's what we recommend. Okay, another question, what about using a full spectrum grow light? Will this be a benefit? I would say yes, and I went on Amazon during the course and I bought a little grow light for about $25 that you just clamp onto the side of the table, and I put my greens under the grow light, and they seem to like that. But I stress in the course that throughout my 40 years, I've never used grow lights, and everything that I've grown has always grown just fine with just regular light that comes in through the window. So I think it's beneficial, but it's not necessary. Okay, another question. Once you are done sprouting, should you refrigerate them till you get them all eaten? Yes, once these are ready to go, with this, I would probably just put this in the fridge and maybe put a different lid on it so it's not exposed to the air. But, and I tell people that once you're ready to, if you can't eat everything that you've just grown and you want to preserve it, if you rinse it in the morning, then you put it in the refrigerator in the evening when it's not wet, because sprouts will last longer in your refrigerator if they're not soggy. So that's what I tell them to do. You can put them in a jar, you can put them in a baggie, put them in a container, and typically sprouts will last, and microgreens, probably a week. And I don't let them sit around long. I grow them and I eat them pretty quickly. Okay, let's see. Can you sprout red peas, and how do you consume this? Oh yes, you can sprout just about any kind of peas, and you can grow peas in a jar and grow them about this big and eat them right away, or you can grow them bigger into the microgreen stage. Peas are almost foolproof. I mean, they're so simple to grow and they taste very good. And so you have both options with them. Okay, let's see, another question. After we pay for the course, will we have access to it forever? Yes, you will, as long as, like I said, as long as we're able to get online and we're not in the final crisis at the very end of the world. As long as we have internet access, that course will be up and running, and you can watch it at your own leisure. You can watch, one video one day and another day, and just work your way through seed by seed, demonstration by demonstration, and you'll know exactly what to do. There's a few times where, because we grew a lot of seeds in the course, we had one batch of broccoli that we had to work with because there was something that wasn't right about that batch. And so we finally figured out that we had soaked the seeds too long. So we learned about that. And the amaranth, I learned that they really like hotter climates rather than 65 to 70 degrees, which was the temperature in our kitchen. So one thing I teach you in the course is that you learn as you go, and you just get your hands wet and get your hands dirty and get started. And if you have a problem with the batch, then you try to figure out, well, what's wrong? Is it the seed? Is it soaked too long? Is the temperature too hot? And so we work through some of these issues during our demonstrations. But I'd say 98% of everything we grew, you just see it growing right there, and it all just came out perfectly. Okay, next question. It says, nice presentation. Thank you, Steve. You're welcome. The background picture of the sprouts is perfect too. So for $49.95, can we order a DVD in the event that we do not have internet access later? I have your pocketbook on sprouts. I didn't mention that we have 4 little books on health. One of them is called Sprout Power, which we give as a PDF for people that join the course. That's part of the course. As far as a DVD, we don't have a DVD, but we can put them on a thumb drive. And I don't know if Pastor Ron we might be able to make it onto a DVD for those that don't have internet access. We've had a couple people say, we don't have internet access, what do we do? And we put it on a thumb drive and send it to that person, and they were able to put it in their computer and then just watch it that way. So we'll work with you, whatever is helpful. I have an email address that goes along with the course, and it's simply steve@sproutingwithsteve.com. steve@sproutingwithsteve.com, and you can ask any questions that you'd like. that you'd like. Next question, can life be sustained on the sprouts in the events that the markets close? Yes, they can. Your life can be sustained. From what I've read, wheatgrass has all the nutrition that the body needs. So now you're probably not going to get enough calories from drinking wheatgrass, but you'll get all the nutrition you need. And if you grow sunflower greens, lentils, I mean, these are pretty filling. You're going to get a lot of you're going to get some calories, you're going to get real food here. And if we were to run into a big problem with the food supply, and if you run out of food in your garden or in your orchard, if you don't have a garden or an orchard, if you have seeds that you can grow, you can still live on growing sprouts and microgreens. It's basically like growing a garden, but you're just growing it inside your house, and you don't have to weed, you don't have to deal with a lot of bugs, pests, and you can just be in control of it, and you just grow it for a shorter amount of time. Okay, another question here. Do you need new soil every time you start a new batch? Yes, if you're using potting soil and you put potting soil down and then you sprinkle peas on top and grow pea microgreens or radish microgreens or sunflower microgreens or buckwheat microgreens, which you can also grow without soil, or if you do use soil, typically yes. Once I've harvested them, then I take that soil with the roots in it, and I just I put it in my compost pile. I bury it around a fruit tree. I stick it in my garden under the ground, so the worms will start getting at it. So it's still valuable for the garden, but I wouldn't use that soil again. Okay, here's another really good question. How long do seeds last when storing them for future use? That really depends on the seed. What happens is the longer you keep the seeds, typically what will happen is the percentage of those seeds that germinate will go down. So the germination rate will go down. So if you keep them for a few years, you might have 80% of them that sprout, or 70%. It depends on the seed. Some seeds do better than other seeds. We typically recommend putting them in a cooler place. You can freeze your seeds and they sprout just fine. Put them in the refrigerator, they sprout just fine. And that will increase their longevity. My wife's mother had a container of about 5 pounds of alfalfa seeds that she got from True Leaf Market years ago, like 8 years ago. And she didn't use those alfalfa seeds, so she gave them to us. And recently I've been growing them and they grow just fine. And it's been a long time that they've been sitting in this container. So, I mean, they found seeds in the tombs of the pharaohs, and some of them still sprout. So you never know how long a seed can survive, but you don't need to worry that if you don't use your seeds right away, that they're gonna all go bad. And we typically recommend starting with a reasonable amount, not a huge amount, and then you get more familiar with it, and then you buy more seeds. And like I said, you can buy certain seeds locally, like lentils, that are very, very easy. Okay, let's see, I've got a few more questions here. Let's see, please clarify, regarding the microgreens, are you eating everything, including the seeds, or just the tops that you cut off? Good question. With the buckwheat, depends on the seed. Buckwheats, I let them grow big enough so that the shells fall off. With the sunflower greens, I let them grow, and sometimes I pick off some of the shells. A lot of them just fall off naturally, and I try to get as many off as I can, and then I cut them and I put them in a bag and I take them to my house, and then I put them in salads, give them to my children. And with my kids, I'll pick off any extra sunflower shells. But with me, if there's still 4 or 5 or even 10 sunflower shells from the black oil sunflower seeds, it doesn't bother me. It's just a little bit of extra fiber. You don't taste it, just a little bit crunchy, and you eat it. So now with radish, or arugula or alfalfa or broccoli, you never worry about that. They just fall off naturally, and it's not a problem. It's with the bigger seeds. Now with peas, there is no shell to go off of it. They just grow as sprouts and microgreens that come up, and you cut them off and eat them. So it depends on the seed. And you learn as you go along. Another question, can we use tap water to water the sprouts, or does it need to be filtered water? Really, it's whatever you've got. Obviously, the healthiest water is good water from your well, or water that you know is good water. But if you don't have access to the best water, I would use what you've got. It's a lot better to use tap water and grow lentils and eat those lentils than not to do it. So you do the best you can with what you've got. Okay, another question. When buying seeds from a feed store, is there anything I should be checking on the bag that can be harmful to consume? You might want to ask, the feed store, but I get the black oil sunflower seeds, and they're ready. They're seeds, like I said, for bird feeders, but I find that they sprout just fine. So that's where I get my bulk sunflower seeds, is just from the feed store. Okay, another question, where do we sign up? You sign up by going to sproutingwithsteve.com. That's the main website, sproutingwithsteve.com. It'll show you everything right there. Then you click if you want to join. You join, you go down to the checkout, and then you type in the discount code Friend of Steve, cut the price in half. And like I said, 2-week guarantee. So if you want your money back, you can get it after within 2 weeks. We've only had one person ever do that. And I don't know why they did it. Maybe they just got too busy. But we've had a lot of people join the course, and nobody outside that one person has asked for a refund. And I think you'll love it. It's there's, like I said, no gimmicks. It's straightforward, simple. I don't wear a suit and tie when I demonstrate. Sometimes I'm in my pajamas. Sometimes I'm in a suit because I came from a meeting. Sometimes I'm in my regular casual clothes, and it's just me and you and the jars and the seeds and the trays, and I just show you what to do. It's very simple. Okay, let's see. Here's one more question. Yes, sproutingwithsteve.com. Somebody said I've been sprouting buckwheat and quinoa and then dehydrating and making them into flour for baking. Sure, that's great. I'm staying away from gluten, and this is delicious. There's lots of options. Another one is sprouts are living foods and truly amazing for your skin looks amazing. This is proof of the life that is in God's force. I'm 61, and I went for a long, probably 5-mile walk today with a buddy of mine. And I attribute a lot of the health that I do have to the fact that I put a lot of sprouts in my body. I really think that it benefits me, and I like it. So I guess that's about it. Ken, you see any questions I didn't catch?
I think you might have answered this one. Is there any sprout we should not eat that you can think of?
Right, I did mention that, and I cannot think of a sprout that you should not eat. Like I said, most of the seeds that are sold for sprouting, I mean, all of the seeds that are sold for sprouting are safe. True Leaf Market has a whole host of different options. You can pick and choose, and you can look at the pictures on their website of what the sprouts look like and what the microgreens look like, and all those seeds are all safe. And the basic ones, like I said, that you get at a market, I teach people in the course how to grow chia. Chia is very easy to grow. You can get those at any health food store. Sunflower seeds, peas, buckwheat groats. You can get most of those at a health food store, or at least a store that has seeds that they sell. I love buckwheat groats. I soak them and I put them in a colander, and then I rinse them twice a day, and within 2 or 3 days, they're sprouting and they go right into my cereal. They are delicious, nutty. They taste like nutty, and they're just good. And they're not expensive. So there's lots of options, and it's hard to find a seed that typically people are regularly growing into a plant or buying at a store to sprout. You don't have to worry about those seeds. Okay, any other questions, Ken?
Yeah, one other that you may have also touched on, but just for clarity, do sprouted beans need to be cooked slightly, emphasis on beans, to stop the enzyme that destroys proteins?
I don't think so. Now, beans are sprouted beans, it depends on the beans. Beans are a little more tricky to sprout, but I would think once the seed begins to sprout, it changes form, like I said, and it gets, you have to cook beans for a long time in order to make them digestible. But when you soak a seed and then it begins to sprout, if you can successfully sprout a bean, I think it's ready to go, because it changes form and it becomes much easier for the body to digest. So I never cook my sprouts. Now you can do that, and there's lots of ways to eat them, plenty of different ways, but that's what I do. To me, it's live food, raw food, and I want the full nutritional benefit of that food straight into my body.
Let me provide an opportunity for anyone that's joined us by phone that doesn't have the ability to send in a chat message. We'd like to give you an opportunity to verbalize a question. Just unmute your device if you'd like to ask Steve a question directly.
And if you don't want to ask the question publicly, like I said, you can email me, steve@sproutingwithsteve.com. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any takers on that opportunity there before we close out?
Somebody mentioned here in the chat, I read this about quinoa. They're taking buckwheat and quinoa and they're making it into flour. Quinoa is very easy to sprout. You can just soak the seeds for a few hours, rinse them a couple times a day, keep the water out of the jar, and within 3 days, you have quinoa sprouts. And like I said, when you sprout a seed, you are increasing its nutrition dramatically. So it's very healthy.
Hello, I ain't figured out the chat thing yet, but if you lightly steam sprouts, I do that sometimes and they're really delicious. Does that dramatically change the nutrition?
I don't think so. I think you may lose a little bit. Some people like to steam mung beans are super easy to grow in a jar, and I demonstrate this in a colander where you can grow them like you do, get them in the Chinese restaurants where you get mung sprouts, mung beans, and those are really, really tasty. And you can steam them if you want, lightly steam them if it tastes better to you to do that. And I think you probably will lose a little bit of nutrition, but not a whole lot.
Yeah, they're delicious steamed. I like them both ways, but steamed a little different,
Sure.
I have a question. Your lentils you get from the grocery store, unless they're organic, they are probably dried down with Roundup. So I don't know. Do you have a problem with that? Sprouting them if they're dried down with Roundup?
Well, from what I talked to Parker Garlitz, who is one of the owners of True Leaf Market, about whether, what is the significant difference between getting seeds that are organic versus those that are not organic. And his opinion was that when you're dealing with the seed itself, it's not that big of an issue. Now, True Leaf Market does have organic, non-GMO seeds, which they sell. But like with lentil sprout, I think the issue comes more with the plant. When you're eating a plant that's been sprayed with Roundup, in order for a plant to produce a seed, it puts its best energies into that seed. And the seed itself doesn't necessarily have the poison that was sprayed on the plant. If you're worried about it, then just grow organic. It's like I tell people, if you're worried about the water, what's in the water, then use filtered water. If you're concerned about the seeds that might not be organic, then go with organic. For me personally, I don't really worry about these lentils. These are organic lentils that I haven't put any chemicals on these. Now, what was originally on the plant the lentil plant that produced the seed, I don't know. But I've come to believe that the seed itself, it's not that big of an issue. And when that seed begins to grow, it's not like it's multiplying the Roundup in the seed. It's multiplying all the vitamins and the enzymes and the things that helps this seed to grow. And if the plant's so damaged that it can't make a seed, then, you know, obviously you won't have a seed. But I personally don't worry. We have well water, so I don't worry about my water. We've tested our water. And I don't have any problem buying a bag of black oil sunflower seeds for $20 and get 40 pounds and grow them. It doesn't bother me. I feel like the health benefits, and we're all getting chemicals all the time. And we get chemicals from the toothpaste we use, from the shampoo, unless we're very, very careful about what kind of soap and shampoo and toothpaste and conditioner. And we get chemicals in our home, we get chemicals in the air, we get chemicals all around us. And here's something I didn't mention, that there's a lady named Dr. Sherry Rogers. She's a very well-known doctor, and she's very into health and toxic issues. She wrote a masterpiece of a book called Detoxify or Die. And she says that we have two basic issues. That the one issue is the body accumulates chemicals, either from the environment or from your own metabolism or the food that you eat. So we've got what's called the body burden of the chemicals that are in there. And then we have the second issue is the body's ability to detoxify and to get rid of them. And the body is a detoxification machine. Every time we go to the bathroom, you know, you are getting rid of toxins, whether it's through your urine, the stool, the skin, the breath. Our body is continually detoxifying itself naturally. And so Dr. Rogers says that if you put more nutrition into your body, you enhance your body's ability to detoxify and get out the chemicals. So we all get chemicals to some extent. But if we're putting a lot of nutrients in the system, the body is then able to get rid of the chemicals on a regular basis. And so if there's a little bit of chemical in here, I think I'm getting more nutrition that will help my body get rid of chemicals than I'm getting the chemicals that are in here because maybe these seeds didn't happen to be organic. So that's my philosophy. Pump in the nutrients, it'll get rid of the chemicals, and you'll be able to handle it as much as possible.
And also they say broccoli sprouts help the body heal from the GMO foods.
That sounds good to me. As I mentioned, broccoli sprouts have sulforaphane, which is famous for as an anti-cancer fighter. So yeah, that broccoli's a little bit tricky to grow. And I explain all this in the course. With broccoli seeds, I've learned that it's better to soak those seeds for only 4 or 5 hours. That's it. And then I typically start my broccoli seeds in a jar, and I soak them for 4 or 5 hours, pour out the water, make sure the water's out as I tip the jar, and then I rinse them typically twice a day. And if the seeds are good, those seeds should start growing right up in the jar. And then I'll either just pluck them out of the jar and put them in my salad, or I will put them in a little tray and I'll grow them bigger into the microgreen stage, which is very easy to do. And if you grow the broccoli right, and if they're a healthy crop, they're a little bit tangy, but they don't taste bad at all. And they are just loaded with nutrients. Very healthy.
I got one more little question.
Okay.
Well, sometimes I get carried away and I could have like 8 jars or so going at the same time, and I don't want to go bad. So I put some in a freezer bag and put them in the freezer. That's good too, right?
I mean, if it works for you, and if when you take them out of the freezer, they still taste good.
Yeah, that's the ones I usually use for steaming. Yeah.
Yeah,
they do great. Fine. They do absolutely
that's
great.
Fine. Sure, it's just like freezing. You take spinach and you can buy frozen spinach. You can buy frozen blueberries. So any vegetable that you freeze is going to.
The way to store them up, if you get in a good mood to do sprouting, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it's good. Okay, somebody asked here what I see in the chat, which has more nutrient sprouts or microgreens. As I mentioned, researchers say that when you grow it a little bit bigger to the microgreen stage, where the leaves come out and they green up the leaves, like the picture behind me, that's the peak nutrition. But it's a fact that sprouts in that first stage, which are little baby microgreens before you get to the microgreen stage, the sprouts are loaded with nutrients as well. So growing microgreens takes a little more time, a little more effort, but you'll get the extra boost. If you don't want to take that little extra time, you want to just keep it simple, you can just grow sprouts in a few days, and you're still getting a whole lot more nutrition than you can typically get even from a grocery store when you buy food at the market. You're getting more. And like I said, no transit time, no chemicals. You know what you're eating, you grow it yourself, and you're eating it live. So you can't beat that. Really good.
Okay.
I just heard somebody drinking some water.
Yes. Anyone else have a question for Pastor Wohlberg before we close? So there is a question in the chat. Let me make it clear that we have recorded this to our YouTube channel, and we have sent out links to some of our people with regard to how to join that YouTube channel. Steve, to those you invited, did you also send the link to the YouTube channel for the Banner Elk Church?
Yes, I did. I did.
So look back at however you received your invitation and see if you see a link for our YouTube channel. If not, let me just suggest the simplest way to get to the location where this recording was made this evening for sharing it with your friends or reviewing it again yourself would be to go to our website, and that is bannerelksda.org. Just that simple. Banner Elk, one word, bannerelksda.org. There you will see a live, or I think it says join live stream. And if you click on that, even though this event is over, it takes you to that YouTube channel where you will find the presentation this evening. So let me encourage you to take advantage of that and to share this with your friends. Steve has also recorded this on his hard drive. He's going to send us a copy of it, and we're going to also post it to our website in addition to having it on our YouTube channel. So it'll be available both places.
Okay, Ken, let me mention also that if anybody would like me to do this again, anybody that's watching this, if you have a list of contacts or a group of people that you'd like to bring together for another Zoom event, I like doing this. This is the first time I've ever done it with these kind of slides and having a chat. So, but it's been a blessing to me. It's been enjoyable. I'm looking at the chat responses, and people are very happy for what we've done. And I'm available in the future to do this for other groups.
Awesome.
Wherever God opens the door.
Amen. Well, before Pastor Brandon has our closing prayer, and I think he was going to ask the question, if you've got any sprouts for a 7-month-old, not 7 months, 7 week, I think it is. I don't know. I saw him holding his baby and feeding it there a moment ago, and I was guessing he probably had sprouts in that bottle. But anyway, before he does that, let me just mention in way of an announcement, those of you that were here last Wednesday, you might remember that Pastor Darren Greenfield, who's currently in charge of the agricultural program out at Weimar, shared some really useful information. That video is also available at that same YouTube channel that we just talked about and explained how to get to it. He will also be speaking to us at the same venue this coming Sabbath morning. That'll be for the Divine Hour. Since he's out in California, we couldn't get him to do Sabbath school, but because it's a 3-hour time difference. But he will be presenting at our 11 o'clock Sabbath service at this exact same venue. You would join us exactly the same way you did this evening. So I'll send out another reminder of that later this week, but just put that on your calendar if that's something you think you might appreciate or enjoy. What he's going to be talking about is understanding the spiritual application of agriculture and the powerful lessons that they convey to us spiritually. And so I think you'll receive a blessing from it. I couldn't help but think, Pastor Steve, as I was listening to you this evening, of the words of Jesus to Nicodemus when he was talking about you must be born again. And then he was speaking of being born of the water and of the Spirit and the new life and the regeneration that takes place from that. And it just seems to me the presentation you've shared this evening is a physical representation of exactly that same spiritual principle. And it's amazing to see how all of life sort of revolves around the same principles, both on the physical level and spiritual level. So we'll be talking about that more in detail and making some real practical applications this Sabbath as Pastor Darren Greenfield joins us. We will also be having a Vespers program at the same venue to welcome in the Sabbath. Friday evening, starting at 6:30, we'll be hearing the testimony of Gordon Wheeler. Some of you might know Gordon, but if you don't, he's got a really interesting story of how God has just reached out and just sort of grabbed him and saved him from a world of self-destruction. And he'll tell you his story about how he spent so much of his time incarcerated and just kind of learning the lessons that God was trying to teach him, many of the lessons the hard way, but he'll say that was really one of the very best things that ever happened to him. That's where he found the Lord, and that's who changed his life. And you'll, I'm sure, enjoy hearing him share his testimony Friday evening at 6:30 p.m., same venue. All righty. Pastor, have I overlooked any other announcements, anything else you think we need to share before we close out?
I think you got it all.
All right. Well again, just a real sincere appreciation, Steve, for your time this evening, for all the rest of you that made time to join us. Share the blessing. I hope you'll just pass this information around to others. It's amazing how that when we do things God's way, we always find ourselves, as Steve said with his opening text, I think it was 3 John, God's desire for us is that we should all prosper and be in health, even as our soul prospereth. And the information that was shared here this evening, I believe, will be useful to that end. So thank you for being here.
You're welcome, Ken, and everybody. Thank you all for being part of this. And I see all the appreciation in the chat, and I thank you for that and praise the Lord. And I guess one last thought is, it seems to me that as the world gets sicker and as people get weaker from the Garden of Eden going down the generations, we're probably the last generation before Jesus returns. And as we have more obstacles around us with the chemicals and the pollution that's in the environment, growing sprouts and microgreens is a boost. It's an extra nutritional boost that I think is the hand of God to give us more nutrition that we need to help us deal with these challenges. So I'm glad to be able to do this. Thank you, Ken, for being willing to host this event. And I want to thank your church. And I think that this event is like a seed. We've planted a seed, and the seed is going to grow in the days ahead and it's going to bless a lot of people. So thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
All right, let's pray together. Dear Father in heaven, we are so thankful for the greens and the knowledge that we've learned tonight. And we're asking a blessing upon Pastor Steve and his ministry, his family, his health, and his sprouting. And as we all take this step forward in our sprouting journey of nutrition and health, we just ask that you teach us to get rid of the bad things we've been consuming and to embrace healthy choices. And we're asking that our efforts would be prosperous, that we would enjoy your creation in a deeper way, that we would see your love written all over it. And so we thank you, Lord. We love you. And we're just, I ask protection for us all as we go our separate ways tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you all.
Good night.
Night, Ken.
Good night.
Night.
Bye.